Thank you to the DeSIRA team for giving me and giving FARA the opportunity to share about this subject of research, the contribution of research to innovation. My name is Aggrey Agumya. I'm the Director of Research and Innovation at FARA. I'll just complement what Guy has presented by presenting two cases of where we have FARA, together with the partners, have tested and validated two approaches to innovation where research has played a key role. But I'll start by giving a very small introduction about FARA and how it plays into the innovation space. FARA is a Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. It's part of the architecture of agricultural research and innovation on the continent. At the national level, you have National Agricultural Research and Innovation Systems. And then within each region, we have a sub-regional organization that organizes and brings together the National Agricultural Research Systems within the region. And then at the apex, you have FARA, the Forum for Agricultural Research. Now, the extension actors have also a continental organization called AFAS, the Africa Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, which links with the sub-regional organizations at sub-regional level and at national level with the national extension systems. So that's how we are organized, and when we are engaging in work that covers more than one country, it's done through the sub-regional organization and then through FARA. And the work that is carried out by the different organizations is guided by the subsidiarity principle. Now, there is a growing interest in innovation by the research fraternity, especially. And this interest dates back to about 15 to 17 years, when it became very clear that the linear approach was not delivering the goods that the researchers expected. And they also had some indications that the innovation systems approach would provide better results. But there was no certainty about it. So there was an experiment that FARA was mandated to carry out to test whether indeed the innovation systems approach is viable, and whether it offers better and superior outcomes. And so over time, there's been a big shift as awareness about innovation increases, and as the evidence that it offers better results, as that evidence becomes available, we see that shift. For me, from what Guy has presented about the linear approach and the innovation approach, that diagram there made it very clear for me why the difference between the two. That in the linear approach you have that stepwise process, whereas in the innovation approach you have a network, a kind of arrangement where things move faster. The first case is on the integrated agricultural research for development approach. This is the keyword there would be that it is integrated. Around the integration is around 4 areas. Normally in the agricultural research, we are aiming to improve productivity, improve access to markets, natural resource management policies and institutions. And in the linear approach, the focus is mainly to improve one of those outcomes, improve productivity or improve natural resource management. In the integrated agricultural research, you are looking at the interfaces between all those areas, the interfaces among them. If it's productivity and natural resource management, you're looking at the interface between productivity and natural resource management, as well as improving productivity on its own and improving natural resource management on its own, and so on. Now, the main instrument for the IAR4D approach is the innovation platform. The innovation platform is an institutional tool that facilitates the services that Guy has mentioned. It facilitates the generation of technologies and knowledge, and it facilitates capacity strengthening. It facilitates the application of the knowledge to create development outcomes. So that's the main tool. There's a lot of interest and excitement about the innovation platform. We've had so many projects which have embraced the platform. We have institutions that have embraced the innovation platform as the model and tool for carrying out research. So the characterization of the platform is that it's a multi-stakeholder platform, and the stakeholders are those, they will depend on the problem being addressed, but they are typically researchers, private sector, the extension, producers, and policymakers. And the key to the success of a platform is its facilitation. So the facilitation is so critical that success is really conditional on it. But the composition of the platform really depends on what it sets out to achieve. But those that I have listed are the main actors. We distinguish between an operational platform, which is the one that operates at local level, where you have the producers at local level, the ones who are really engaged in action. And then we have the strategic platform, which would be like a national level platform where it is engaged in mostly policy and strategic kind of engagement. The functions have really been highlighted by Guy, so I'll not dwell on that. Now, we have evidence that the IAR4D approach indeed works and offers better results than the linear approach. And this evidence was assembled through a 10-year study led by FARA, working in collaboration with the sub-regional organizations and with the CGIAR. It was established that IAR4D delivers superior benefits than the linear approach. And this was very important because it now provided the evidence that stakeholders and policymakers needed to now start making a shift to this approach. One of the results is that the study showed that incomes of farmers engaged in IAR4D were 232% higher than non-IAR4D farmers. And there were other indicators, but for time I'll just highlight that one only. There are several entry points for the innovation platform, you can have an entry point that is based on markets. You can have one that's based on institutional change, on innovation, capacity, and on social capital for natural resource management. I'll just give an example of the market pathway. This shows an innovation platform where the entry point is the market linkage. And it shows that the aim is to improve food security, and minimize poverty by increasing income. To increase income, you need to increase the profit margin. And so there are so many services services that are required to get to these outcomes. But on the top here, my interest is in the research side. For you to have improved profit margin, you need to be producing what is demanded, and for you to produce what is demanded efficiently, you need to deploy research to improve productivity, and then to improve the profit margin. So this figure goes to highlight, I think, a point that he has mentioned, that research is a contributor. It's only a contributor, but a very important contributor to the innovation process. And this is just one indication of how it's done. The lessons from our various entry points show that if the entry point is the market, there is a high likelihood for that innovation platform to be sustainable beyond most of the platforms that were established in this experiment were project-based. Now, several years after the project closed, we have found that the ones that were based on market linkages are the ones that are still standing. The other question that was answered by this study that we did over 10 years was whether the innovation platform is effective in scaling up technologies. It indeed demonstrated that, yes, there is that the innovation platform can facilitate the scaling up, and other studies after the 10 years have shown that the innovation platforms have facilitated the scaling up. But what they have also established is that the process is not well understood, how the platform does this, supports the scaling up. It's kind of a black box, and this is perhaps an area where more work is needed to understand. This map shows the innovation platforms that are in a database that FARA manages, and that database is used by, for example, private sector actors who engage platforms to produce, to express demand for commodities that the platforms then organize themselves to produce and supply. The second case is the PIPAD, the Platform for Africa-European Partnership on Agricultural Research for Development. This is a platform that has been on since 2006, and it's a bi-continental platform with the objective of facilitating African-European partnerships that are, one, equitable, and two, balanced between three areas: equitable and balanced between the two actors in Africa and Europe, equitable and balance between researchers and research users, and equitable and balance between public and private organizations. I'll focus my example on the last two, equitable and balance between research and research users and public and private organizations, because that's where the case of the multi-stakeholder partnership is demonstrated. So within the pipeline, a process called the users-led process was developed and tested. This is where the research is, you have a multi-stakeholder platform that addresses an issue that is mostly put on the table or proposed by the end users. So the process, the research carried out in this process is demand-led. Then you have, as a multi-stakeholder partnership, it is demand-led, so it is users-led. So the work that is done is demand-led, but the users, who are mostly farmers, benefit from the multi-stakeholder platform through the capacity strengthening that the researchers, especially also the private sector actors, bring to the platform. And so as a platform, one of the objectives was to mobilize resources for them as a consortium to be able to do joint work. Individually, they could not have been successful in mobilizing the kind of resources they were able to mobilize. They found that for every euro that was invested in these partnerships, they were able to leverage 3.3 euros. And if they considered the other non-consortium partners that those partners brought onto the platform, that ratio increased substantially, 8 times.
1 minute remaining.
Yes, I'll go to the conclusion. The users-led process partnerships, many years after the project has ended, have continued to grow. They are more sustainable, and so that's the contrast we see with the IAR4D. So I conclude that for most innovation in African agriculture, research plays a fundamental role in generating knowledge and technology, as Guy has said. The innovation framework ensures that research is demand-led. It also ensures that the research outputs are used. And it does this by building capacity, by facilitating brokerage, networking, and policy. This just goes to reinforce the point that Guy has made. Multi-stakeholder partnerships have proven to offer greater development impact, but they require a long-term engagement. And their results are not immediate, but they are long-lasting. So you have to be patient. There's more sustainability. Another point, reinforcing research actors contribute to multi-stakeholder partnerships. In the case of IAR4D, a number of the platforms were research-led. In the case of the pipeline, they were user-led. But they don't have to be, research doesn't always have to be. And we have seen that user-led partnerships have shown greater sustainability. With regard to scaling, we need to understand the process through which innovation platforms facilitate scaling, so that once we know how it does it, we can ensure that that scaling is sustained and good. Thank you very much, Francois, for the extra minute.